Hello and welcome to Stir Crazy Art Classes with Gerald Savine, lesson number 11. We'll be doing some painting now of the picture of the Malvern Hills with Bert's Malvern Court and the Malvern in the background. Bearing in mind that the idea of this is the composition, leading your eye into the subject, but also the use of colour to give perspective. Now, what I'd like to also say before going any further is, although we're working in watercolour here, you can be working any colour medium you like. You can be working in gouache, oils, acrylics, even colour pencils or pastels. But the thing is still the same. It's how you apply the colours, getting lighter as it goes into the distance, and brightness to bring colour forward. So you can see the use of perspective from using colour. The other thing is, whilst you're mixing up your colours over here, you might find it useful a bit of white paper where you might like just to have a look at the colour before you put it on to your painting. Especially if you're mixing colours, you might just want to see what it looks like before you apply it to the actual painting. Alright, so we'll see how far we get. Now, my normal thing is to say we start at the top and the back and work our way down and forward to the bottom. Now, there are sometimes exceptions because we don't, when we come to paint the sky, we don't want the green that we're going to be putting, the greens of the hills going in here, to blend in and bleed into the blue sky. So what I'll be doing is I should paint the sky, then I should put some colour in here, a base colour, for where the corn and some of the grass and things are here. Now remember, you can see from the picture here how, although the colour's not strong, it's bright and consequently comes forward. And as you can see here, as we go back, the colours here get duller, less of them and less detail, and again, let's get through to there. But we're going to leave this and these till last. Okay, so we're going to start with the sky first. We're going to be using cerulean blue. Now then, I'm going to use a little bit of Payne's grey here, just to bring in a touch of cloud. You might want to perhaps just use a tiddly little bit of ultramarine just to darken it down. But that's how I should be working. Okay, so now last time when I did sky, I actually wetted the area first down to the lines. Today I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just apply the paint and thin it down as it goes into the distance. So first of all, I'm going to get some Payne's cerulean blue and squeeze it into the palette. I hope you might have noticed that I've actually gone and washed the palette out since we did some painting. So again, it's a good thing to do that occasionally. I'm going to have a little squeeze of Payne's grey. Now again, for those that and this is the Winsor & Newton's Artist Payne's grey. I'm afraid to say it's not very cheap, but it's a very good colour and goes a long way and lasts a long time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix up water, and I'm using a slightly bigger brush now than here, because again we've got quite a big area to cover. I've got some water in there, not too much, not too wet. So the pigment doesn't get too thinned out. So I'm going to come across here and oops. There we go. I'm going to put some colour into here, but way across very quickly. Now that's really quite strong. In fact, obviously it's much too strong. But then the whole point here being that we're going to taking a lot of the water off the brush. And again, we can just squidge it around, start pulling the colour down, go across both sides because we don't want it to dry out too soon. A little bit more water in, working our way across and just giving that sort of feeling of sort of clouds going on. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring colour right the way across. Very rarely do we see clouds that are totally white. It always looks a bit peculiar when you see them, rather sort of like cartoon clouds when you do see them like that. But again, I'm just squidging around, just gives that sort of feeling there. And now we can just go around here. Now bearing in mind that here, the light will be thinner because it's further away from you, the sky, whereas over here it's going to be coming down onto the hills themselves. Now going carefully around there, but immediately push the colour away. Thin down through there, just wash some of this colour out, come down, round there, again through here. Now what we can do if we want, I'm going to bring the colour right down. Now I haven't done it on this occasion, but quite often, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, if you look very carefully, when you see the blue skies right in the distance, they quite often be like a yellow haze through there. Now, whilst it's still wet, I'm just going to put a little bit of more blue on the tip of the brush. And again, as long as it's still damp, you can then move the colour about. And again, it just sort of helps to give that sort of slight cloudy effect. And again, what I'm going to take a chance on this, I have to say, because you never know quite how it's going to work out. I'm going to put a tiddly little bit of Payne's grey in, just to give a little bit of shadow to the cloud. I'm just checking it out on that piece of paper so we don't get too strong. Just imagine there's a bit of shadow going on underneath the clouds. So again, just gives a little bit of structure to the sky. Again here, sometimes you think, ugh, that's horrible, but by the time you get the rest of the painting done, people's eyes are taken away more from the skies, and it's less of a problem. Right, so I'm going to let that now to dry. I'm just going to almost have a dry brush now. I just want to tickle the edge of that, just to soften that down. Okay, so just get a bit more character into one here as well. Now you see here, the danger here is it was a bit too wet, and you get that sort of nasty effect going on, so you have to be careful about that. And I said, I'm afraid that I've gone and made a mess of it. So even I'm not perfect. Right, next we're going to be looking at, and I'm just going to push this back a little bit because it's a bit slippy. I'm going to get some yellow ochre, and I'm going to, now this is going to be for the cornfield in the foreground. So again here I'm moving that out of the way. It's good, it's useful to have more than one pot of water so that you don't get the colours getting all mixed up. Again here, to start off with, nice and thin. So this is very, very thin. Now that's, see how we can, because that's going to be, if you like, the light on the top of the crop. Again, very, very thin. I'm going to really thin it down, and I'm going to pull it down into where we have the thicker, or the side of the crop. All right, but we want and again here, I'm making my brush strokes up and down here to give a feeling to the crops. Now what's going to happen is we're going to run out of time shortly on this, so what we'll do is we'll have a break and then we'll come back and carry on with the painting. I have to work really quite quickly. I'd like you to, again, if you can, we probably won't get this all done in sort of one go, so I just want you to hopefully take on board how I'm doing this so that you can go and do it yourself and complete the painting. Again, as we come down here, I'm just going to put a bit more colour in. Again, I'm taking the brush strokes up and down, squiggly up and down very quickly. And here as well, a little bit more colour in while we're at it. Can you see? Now I'm going to let that dry back a bit before I go back into this and put some more colour. But bear in mind, this is a sort of where the crop's been cut through. Now then, I'm going to put some very, very thin colouring through here, which is originally would have been, so to say, perhaps the sort of grass and stuff where there would have been a bit of corn going in the first place. And again, I'm just bringing a little bit more colour towards the foreground. But again, I'm working the colour now. See how important it is to work your colour in the direction that things are going. We're up and down here, but here, because we're on the ground, we're working the colour across that way. I'm going to bring in a little bit of, this is still very, very wet, so I'm going to be a bit careful. But, about another 4 or 5 minutes before I have to stop doing this. And then we'll have the break and then give a few minutes, in fact, to let the sky and things to dry off a bit as well, so I can then come back to it. But again, here, see if you can brush out some of the colour, or some of the from the brush itself. Now I'm going to pick up, it's beginning to dry off now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up some of the yellow ochre again, and this time I'm going to brush it up, give the impression of the side of the corn stalks going up here, and gradually going into the distance. It is very important how you apply the paint to the paper to give the effects of. It's amazing how much it shows up how you've applied the paint. So again here, I'm just going to very, very quickly go in. Now be careful here, because I want to leave it a bit of green here. If you remember from before, it had some squiggly lines there. So again here, a few individual lines. When this has dried back a little bit again, I will be applying a little bit more colour there, but at the moment it's still a bit wet. I'm going to squeeze out, if I can find it, some burnt umber. Now you'll notice that this is darker here than there because the light is coming from the left. So this side of the corn will be darker. So I'm going to first of all put a bit more of this in. Now it's beginning to dry off. And you see more pigment's gone in and gives a bit more information, as it were, to the shaping that's going on. So as you can see, compared to, I'm having to do this quickly, we did this as a whole day workshop originally because it took a bit longer to get it all done. But, so unfortunately we don't have too much time doing this. So that's it for now, and we'll come back to it shortly.